It's spooky season, and that means it's time to do some spooky, scary related stuff that's somehow related to Godzilla. But that doesn't mean we haven't had some scary, creepy and downright terrifying moments of the Godzilla franchise. And these are, in my opinion, the scariest of them all. So, I'm Alex the Hunted, and this is the Top 10 Scariest Godzilla Moments. Number 10. The first appearance of Godzilla in the Return of Godzilla. For the movie that wanted to show that Godzilla was no longer kid-friendly, was back to being his more serious roots, they really didn't hold back when it came to making Godzilla legitimately intimidating. And I think this scene really just shows off how they set this out. This is Godzilla back to being a threat to Japan, and his first scene, his introductory scene, is probably the most important scene of the movie, and they absolutely nailed it. The way it starts out all dead quiet, we're just looking at the scenery and then seeing some birds fly away. And then we just hear him growling as we're looking at some fog, where it then turns out it's a Godzilla POV shot with him looking at his next meal of the nuclear power plant. As the music slowly builds and builds to his full reveal, and look at that, it's Godzilla! Oh, its build-up is just so legitimately creepy and scary. It may be the most important scene in the movie. This was the scene that they had to get right to establish the new Godzilla after 10 years, and I think they absolutely nailed it. And while the rest of the scene isn't anywhere near as scary, the opening build-up really does give you goosebumps. But Alex, I hear you asking, what about that other scene in The Return of Godzilla? Ho ho, we'll get to that. Number 9. The hospital scene from GMK. Of course I was going to mention my favourite Godzilla movie. I have to find a way to mention it in every single one of these goddamn videos. But this is a short scene, and I know it's a bit of a comedy scene at the end, but thinking about it, this would be really damn scary. Trapped in your hospital bed, seeing out the window a giant beast coming towards you and you are unable to escape as it gets closer and closer. Man, that's just terrifying. Really does make you feel sorry for her. But then it looks like Godzilla has turned away and oh, she's safe. Only for them to go, psych! Nope, and turn it into an actually legitimately funny scene. It's gone from scary to legitimately funny as the tail swings round and just kills her. You were feeling so sorry for her a few seconds ago, but now you're laughing at her death. But yeah, it's a legitimately scary scene where you feel sorry for this poor woman trapped and able to escape, to laughing at her death. It's tragically hilarious. Number 8. Ballantes Attack in Godzilla vs Ballante. This is a scene I don't see brought up often when it comes to scary scenes in Godzilla movies. Maybe it's because this movie hasn't had much widescreen appeal until recently when the movie was released on DVD worldwide. It was a bit of a sort of black sheep of the Godzilla franchise, of the Heisei era especially, seeing that it was just so hard to come across. But since it came out on DVD, it got reappraised, and I don't see many people talking about this scene, but I find it legitimately scary. It's basically a Little Shop of Horrors scene, but with more horror to it. I like how it starts out as like a standard action scene of just two bounty hunters going after each other. And then all of a sudden Japanese tentacles start shooting out of the ground and it's becoming a full horror scene. Thank God this wasn't an anime, because I wouldn't have been able to talk about this scene if it was an anime. And this has like your classic monster movie horror sort of scenes with people being dragged around, pulled off screen, and even being crushed to death. Honestly, in a way, it kind of reminds me of that Doc Ock scene from Spider-Man 2. You know the one. But this movie did it first. And it's a scary scene. The only thing that's really holding it back is these characters are either bad guys or appearing for the first time in this movie and only appearing in this scene because, well, some of them get killed. So it doesn't have the same level of threat or scariness to it because we don't really know these characters or they're bad guys. If it was the heroes of the movie, or if it was like, I don't know, like Mickey, since this is her introductory movie, it might have been a bit more scary. I don't know. But I really think this scene should get more recognition for being a legitimately scary scene. Number 7. Kumongas introductory scene from Son of Godzilla. This was one of those scenes that really scared me when I was a kid. Maybe it's how Kumonga is basically a giant spider, and maybe it's also the music, with our heroes just sort of trapped in a small cavern, with Kumonga just spraying silly string at them, I mean silk, to try and wrap them up and eat them. I won't deny, this scene has some really good tension in it. You can just feel like Kumonga's really determined just to eat our heroes. Also, that long Kumonga leg prop that they used a few times in the movie really scared me as a kid. I just remember being in my bed one night as a kid, terrified that that giant hairy spider leg was going to come crashing through my window and try and eat me or something. I think this is a legitimately first good scary moment for if you're wanting to show your kids Godzilla movies and wanting to show them, like, you know, a scary moment, but that's not too scary for the kids. It's a good first scare for kids, if you know what I mean. Since this movie is more aimed towards kids as well, and I also am one of those of opinion that it's a good thing to show kids scary things and scary scenes from mostly kids movies to help them build up a tolerance when they get older to the way more scarier movies when they get older that they're more likely going to watch. But that's just my opinion on that sort of a thing. But yeah, this is a great first scary Godzilla scene for young fans, and it won't traumatize them too much. I mean, I was traumatized a bit by it, and I turned out alright. Don't answer that question. Number 6. The Mega Neulon attack from Godzilla vs Mechagodzilla. Amazing how such a mediocre Godzilla movie has one of the really scary moments, and a shame that they don't really do much with it, because this, if they went for a more horror themed with this movie around the Mega Neulons and how they're infesting the city in a sort of way, just killing off people one by one in ambush attacks, that could have been making this movie much better as a more of a horror themed Godzilla movie. But no, it's only really this scene that they do it. What I think makes this scene scary is that we know that the Mega Neulon is there, we see it on screen, but the characters on screen don't see it at all. So we know what's going to happen, but they don't, which is just sort of tragic in a way. And you sort of feel sorry for this couple out on a date, and they're just, you know, having a relax, wanting to have a drink, and all of a sudden they go near some building construction, and then they just get eaten and just killed by the Mega Neulon. It's legitimately scary, and it's just a shame that they never really did much with this premise of being sort of more of a horror scene, apart from this one scene. It would have made this movie, I think, way better if it was more horror focused. But no, we have to deal with just the most bog standard Godzilla plot that we ever had, of just the military trying to stop Godzilla with their new weapon, and also Mechagodzilla is there. Anyway, this scene is legitimately scary, and also kudos to the woman getting attacked by the Mega Neulon, getting squirted in the face with some slime, because that just looks disgusting. Number 5, the giant sea louse attack from Return of Godzilla. Ah yes, this scene. If you want to scare the death out of these kids for their first Godzilla movie in 10 years, well, this scene will sure as hell do that. Man, this scene will traumatize you if you go in unexpecting what's happened. It's very traumatizing, especially since the last few movies in the Godzilla franchise were more kid-friendly. For this, you know, reboot 10 years later, I'm imagining that a lot of kids went to this as their first Godzilla movie. This scene must have absolutely terrified them. It's also just so out of nowhere, you don't really see it coming. Yes, it's a really, you know, spooky scene because there's no music and just the atmosphere and the sound effects of going across this abandoned, well, appearing to be abandoned ship. And then you see just bodies sucked of all their blood, and damn, it's scary. And then all of a sudden these sea louse just attack out of nowhere, and it's just very creepy. I do love the details that the sea lice have like knives and spears inside of them to suggest how brutal this fight was before our hero got here. And yes, while the sea lice flying through the air hasn't really aged that well, when it's on top of the guy trying to bite his neck with no music at all, and you're just hearing the noise of this thing trying to desperately kill and suck out all the blood of our hero, it just really creeps you out. Also, this scene adds to my list of reasons why I hate going out to sea and going into deep water, because we have no idea what's out there. You have no idea if these things are real. I'm not going near the sea. Christ, I'm never going out to the sea. Sorry, yeah, I'm afraid of deep water, by the way. This scene was probably one of those that gave me that fear, maybe. I don't know. On to the next number. Number 4. The final shot of Shin Godzilla. This final scene is way more scary from its implications and how it leaves the movie's ending really open-ended. Like, Shin Godzilla really might not be dead, and he's evolving again into sort of like Godzilla-human hybrids. Sadly, we might never get an answer to this, but then again, maybe it should stay unanswered. The implications of this ending and just how Godzilla could escape his supposed end in such a unique way. Just such a great final shot. It may be the best final shot in any Godzilla movie. It just sticks in your mind for ages. And I think that's what makes it scary, because it just lingers in your head That again, Shin Godzilla himself being the most horror kind of Godzilla, he is pure body horror. Not only just a symbol of nuclear destruction, but also the ending sort of leaves it open to interpretation that maybe the real nuclear destruction is, well, us, humanity in a way, because Godzilla is evolving, seems to be evolving into human Godzilla hybrids. Who knows? That's my failed attempt at being a film student, you know, just trying to sound artsy and smart. Not going very well, is it? Number 3, Destroyer versus the military in Godzilla Vs Destroyah. Well, what do you get when you basically steal from one of the most famous horror action movies of all time? One really scary scene. The military versus the destroyers really is a scary sequence because it's basically the same scene from Aliens. But that doesn't mean it's not good in its own right. I love the way how it starts in just complete silence, with barely any dialogue, as we just have the sound effects and small glimpses of the destroyer just in the background, or just parts of its body, or just warped in a mirror. Like it's prey stalking the JDF, I think that's what they were, the Japanese Defense Force. And then all hell just breaks loose, with destroyers literally just bursting through the walls and ripping apart the JDFs, just trampling all over them and then crushing them with their tails, and then just blowing them away what seems to be a beam which looks really damn painful, like a mini black hole or something is going off inside their body. It's a true action horror scene. But it doesn't stop there, where we get more scenes of the news reporter being hunted down by the last destroyer. And yes, she does make some dumb decisions of getting into the car and not trying to drive away. But still, in these kind of situations, sometimes you just don't think straight and you do make ending stupid decisions. Also, I just love seeing the destroyer just rip this car apart, desperately trying to get at this woman, even using the alien grabber claw thing. And then just blowing the car in half with its beam, just showing the sheer power of this destroyer in just one of them, and this small version of it. It's the perfect blend of horror and action. It's the best of both worlds. Number 2, Godzilla kills kids in Gojira. I mean, the original Godzilla movie is basically a horror movie. It's a monster horror movie. Let's not deny it. I mean, it's not usually what we expect from a horror movie. Yes, it's not what we usually expect from a horror movie. But Godzilla being a symbol of nuclear destruction, laying waste to Japan, is pure horror, especially back in the day when you realise that only 9 years ago Japan experienced a nuclear weapon attack. I just can't imagine how scary these scenes were, watching them back in the day. But the one scene I really wanted to point out, and it may be the darkest scene in any Godzilla movie ever, is the mother huddling her children, trying to comfort them, knowing that their end is soon coming. It's just maybe be the darkest scene of any Godzilla movie, in my opinion. After comforting her children, saying that they'll soon be seeing their father again. Damn, that's just so dark. And we don't see them again after this scene. So presumably Godzilla kills them, or they were engulfed in the flames of the city burning. Yeah, there's no real way to make jokes about this. It's just something really, really dark and scary. Especially considering the time that this movie was made. Like, jeez. Number 1. Hedorah turning people into bones in Godzilla vs Adora. I think for many, this sequence of Hedorah flying around dissolving people into sheer skeletons might be, nostalgically at least, might be the scariest moment of any Godzilla movie. Keep in mind, this movie was supposed to be a kid-friendly movie, an environmental save-the-earth kind of movie. So to see Hedorah just flying around, dissolving people into skeletons, is just so damn scary and just horrifying. And those skeletons look really real, which just adds to the fear factor. This sequence just has so many scary moments, like Adora flying over these women doing their exercises, causing them to fall down, choking to death, desperately trying to get air as they run inside, as their lungs are basically being dissolved by the acid gas coming out of Hedorah flying. I keep mixing up Destroyer and Hedorah reading this out, god damn it. Or when you got the scene of complete silence of a man jumping off a construction site as Adora flies through the construction site, causing it to crumble away. I don't know if this was intentional to make it completely silent, as we see like flashing effects from the construction site crumbling away. I wonder if there was supposed to be sound effects there, but they just forgot to put them in or something. But it really kind of makes it just sort of really creepy, of just this silently falling away building site as we saw someone jump to their death, effectively. Well, they were turned into a skeleton before they even hit the ground. And keep in mind that this was for a kids movie. A kid-friendly Godzilla movie has maybe the most terrifying moment in any Godzilla movie. Well, in my opinion anyway. Yeah, this whole movie kind of traumatized me as a kid. Let's not forget also the opening scene where we first see hedorah, just of the scuba diver, and just having the hedorah come towards him. Like, damn, this movie's just got so many scary moments in it. It's such a weird and scary movie, and maybe that's why it really did traumatize me as a kid. I couldn't watch that movie for years after first seeing it, and that's why, in my opinion, it is the scariest Godzilla moment in all the franchise. But that was just my opinion on the top 10 scariest moments in the Godzilla franchise. Tell me what you think the scariest moments in the Godzilla franchise are in the comments below, in your opinion. And if you want to help out me and my channel, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. And I have a Patreon if you want to support that. And give me just a simple $1 or something just to help me make these videos better and better. I'm Alex the Hunted, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.